Thanks for staying tuned. Well, let's delve straight into the focus of the day. Now, infrastructure security lies at the heart of Nigeria's oil economy, and discussions around how centralization through Tentita has delivered measurable results, with vandalism plummeting, arrests spiking, and climb in production toward about 2.5 million barrels per day, makes analysts believe it weakens calls for decentralization. But yet, local groups from Insekiri youths to Bayelsa elders insist that decentralizing surveillance contracts, awarding them by corridor or ethnic region, would foster inclusion and reduce conflict. Well, join us now to help navigate the economic and security dimensions of centralized versus decentralized monitoring. We have Secretary General, Niger Delta Ethnic Nationalities Youth Leaders Forum, himself also President, Isoko National Youth Assembly Worldwide. Comrade Eniwake Orogun joins us virtually. You're welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us, Comrade.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you. Well, if you could quickly bring us up to speed with what this surveillance contract is all about, like a background to it, for the benefit of our viewers who would want to understand what is truly at stake here when we talk about the surveillance contract.
Thank you once again. So for clarity's sake, surveillance contracts is about guiding pipeline infrastructure and securing this infrastructure within communities in order to boost crude oil production. We know that once from many of our oil wells across the Niger Delta, they are transported through pipelines to various destinations for refining processes and even for export processes. What happens, or when we talk about local vandalism or local oil bunkering, is that along this pathway, there are people who illegally, creates problems along the pipelines where they can tap and get crude for local refining, and then they sell. And that way, losses are accounted for from the point of production, as it were, through to where it's supposed to be the intended destination. So the government over time felt that there was need to provide more security in addition to the work that the Navy, the other security agencies do provide, and so over time, since 2012, there has been some contracting firms to give that boost to help complement the efforts of the national security, in view of the fact that these local security outfits, they have better intelligence and better understanding of the terrain in which they operate. So this is the background, and this is what it means to survey pipeline infrastructures and other oil assets.
All right, comrade. Well, there have been calls for decentralization of the surveillance contract. But then, if you could tell us, what do you think is the reason the federal government is really hinged at centralization of these surveillance contract? And are there specific benefits that have accrued since this contract came to be?
All right, so thank you again. Let's go back to history a little bit. Between 2012 and 2013, there was this decentralization of the surveillance contracts, where each state was expected to provide their own security and secure the facilities within their region, within their reach. In Delta State, for example, we had the Oil Facility Services Limited, OFSL, at that time. That was a company that was linked to High Chief Government Ekpolo, and it was managed by the then by the now Taraba State Governor, Captain Kefas Agbo, retired. At that time, we also had different states managing theirs. Okay, so but what was then the overall outlook, overall production? It was good relatively until the late President Buhari-led administration came into being, and between 2017 or thereabouts, he centralized it, and in centralizing it, it was given to Ocean Marine, owned by again late Captain Hosa Okubo, who the whole of South region it was given to him to manage at that time. But what was the result? What we had at the time, oil production dropping to about 400 to 500 barrels per day, which was not good for the nation. And towards the twilight of the Buhari-led administration, under the leadership of Belen Kyari in the NNPC, they wanted someone with grassrooted intelligence, someone that that understood the terrain and knew how to complement national security, so that oil production can be boosted, because we're running down to ground zero. But who they contracted again? High Chief Government Popolo, which is the Tactical Security Services. And I believe, in view of his successes that he recorded then, apparently, that is why they were there. So again, it was centralized. But this time, like many people don't realize, that it is not just Tactical Security Services now in this region. You also have the Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited, linked again to the current Olu of Warri, so these two, they run pari passu, and we can see that that's how it runs. Tactical Services manages some part of Delta, Bayelsa, and some part of Rivers. And from my understanding and from the fact available to us, Pipeline Infrastructure Nigeria Limited also manages some part of Delta, Bayelsa, Rivers, and Akwa Ibom, and of course some other areas. So these are the issues currently. And today, comparing what it was now, with now, you find that we're having about 1.7 million barrel per day. That has also made presidents, the last time they spoke about oil production ramp up, talked about believing that we can hit 2 million and beyond. So this is the situation currently.
Well, stakeholders still argue, despite all of this history that you have given, stakeholders still argue that decentralization would give the community more say when it comes to management of these oil infrastructures. But would you say that the gains currently outweigh what it was when it was decentralized?
And so the beautiful thing about facts is that they speak for themselves. They speak for themselves. You can argue, you can talk here and there, but when the facts are put before you, then it lives. Before Tactical Security Services came on board, I just mentioned it was decentralized. Different communities, different states had different companies managing them. What was the results? I can tell you for free. Number one, in many communities, there were no boots on ground. Number two, the communities never felt any impact. Today, people know about pipeline security services because of the success that Tactical Security Services has recorded. Today, Tactical has employed over 40,000 youths and workers across the region, the states where it operates. Today, there are community projects initiated, completed, and commissioned by Tactical across the region. whether in the customs, whether in prison, whether at the community level, you can feel the impact. And this is what has popularized the idea, the concept of pipeline security services limited, or pipeline rather security. And so people now know. So the point is, before this time, before 2022, sometime in August 2022, contracts were running. How come people didn't know anything about pipeline surveillance? Why? Was it that across the communities, nothing was happening? Remember, as soon as Tatita came on board, it was not possible. We now saw loads and loads of vessels, loads of all sorts where crude oil was being stolen in quantity unimaginable. But this time, at that time, you had the decentralized operations. How come this whole thing still lingered if it really works? I tell you this: those that are clamoring for it now, what they are against is the success that we are seeing right now in the country. What they are clamoring for is to go back to the old days where oil theft was on high. Is to go back to the old days where the result. Now there's a strategy Tatita has employed, which is why people speak about Tatita everywhere you go. I'll tell you what. It is one thing to put boots on ground to try to guard the facilities and the people there. Let them go and do what they want to do. That's a strategy. But then when you remove this, when you start chasing out the miscreants, the criminal elements who hitherto were benefiting from the illegal bunkering, what next? Tatita again has tried to integrate them. Tatita again has tried to now provide opportunity for them to be part of it. So it is not just securing the pipelines. You also have people now benefiting from it. So for me, like it's often said, why do you change a winning strategy? After all, we have lived in both eras. We have lived in the era where it was decentralized, and the result was 400 to 500 barrels per day. We are in an era where it is, again, not entirely centralized, because it is run, Tatita is not the only company that is managing this thing. But Tatita is more prominent and more visible because they have more boots on the ground, they have more commitments to the community. So for me, I think the calls are warranted.
Well, comrade, even when you have put out all of these facts, there are still genuine concerns regarding how government can ensure that communities are more involved in the activities that are visible in the contract management. Now, what do you think can be done towards ensuring that communities are more carried along, not compromising the security gains that have been recorded thus far?
First of all, how does Tatita recruit its personnel? Tatita don't stay in their warrior office and then recruit boys and send. All the personnel that are along the pipeline corridors, all the personnel are recruited from the communities, nominated by the communities. So that's one. But beyond that, they are paid very well. The people are paid and timely. And so the economic life of these people in their community also is improved. The various president generals are involved in this nomination. That sometimes we want to ask, I mean, we've seen some publications where some people will say, oh, we want this, we want that. And then we refer them back to the community. So Tatita does not know who is in Bayelsa, who is in Isoko, who is in Romo. It is the president generals through their various mother bodies that bring personnel. All they do is to supervise and make sure that they are on the field. And what else? How else can they be carried? Now let's even take something else that the federal government has done, and a clear that gives us a picture of what it could be like if we go that route. The PIA Act that was enacted in 2022 gives the community the privilege to go and set up host community trusts where 3% of previous year's expenditure that the IOCs and the LOCs will be domiciled. The question is, across the Niger Delta, how many communities have successfully set up this host community trust, and how many have received this fund from the NUPRC? Well over 700 billion. So we have not even been able to. That is a trial of what community works. Again, there is no guarantee that at that level, when you say decentralized, let each community, let each ethnic group, let each, however you want to put it, begin to manage. We have passed that road before. What resulted was vessels being loaded with solo crews and carted away out of Nigeria. So there are still some other linkages and some other areas. What I think can happen is to strengthen this security outfit, that we now know, because there are others that are running. If you go to the street of Warri and across the Niger Delta, you want to ask who has employed or engaged communities. So it's Tatita you see. All of us, I don't know if they will wake up and then compliment the effort of Tatita. You will see that it will be better off. If not, I even feel that the government should just give everything to Tatita, since that is what we know, since that what we're saying, honestly.
Well, Comrade, I'd just still like you to bring us up to speed with what you feel are those demarcating points. When we talk about decentralization and centralization now, which do you think is more prone to influences that are negative to the long-term goals that we hope to achieve when we talk about pipeline management and contracts?
Decentralization. It is more prone to.
In what ways? In what ways is decentralization more prone?
I'll tell you again. History is there for us to draw from. How did it operate at the time? Who was held responsible for vandalism in Bayelsa? Who was held responsible for vandalism in Delta? Who was held responsible for vandalism in River State at the time between 2012, 2013, and even when Ocean Bahrain took over? I just told you, what we saw in that decentralization at the time was people going to an office, carrying bags of money. At the time cash was still moving, and say we are going to pay boys in the community. I'm a community leader, and I've always lived among my people. I've always followed up the stories. People go to various offices, the various surveillance offices. You carry money and say we want to go and engage our people. Then you go to this community. In my community, we saw no goods. In my community, we saw. If you go to the community and say who is even being engaged among all these guys here to secure these things, nobody. So that was the effect of decentralization. If you meet this person, he tells you we are not the one in charge of that line. If you meet this person, he tells you we are not the one in charge, so we can only do. So if one person is securing, and let's even assume that it's even decentralized, and Delta State is doing very well, Bayelsa is not doing very well, Rivers is not doing so well. What happens? The gains from Delta State, of course, will be swallowed by the corruption or the inefficiency of the other state. And so we will still go back to the 400, even less, because now people now understand the business in crude oil itself.
All right,
well, centralized system like you have.
Okay, if you could land.
They're not doing, this has happened there, this has happened there, this has happened there. And then they don't have to put. Remember, Canada is not working as in isolation. It works with communities with their President General. So for me, it's working. We have seen the effect from 4,000, from 400 to 500, and now we are seeing from that to 1.7. It just clearly shows that the gains are working.
Well, NNPCL, Comrade, NNPCL projects about 2.5 million barrels per day by next year. Would you say that this goal is achievable? They even say they are also projecting that it's possible to make it 3 million. We do not know how possible that is. But what do you think can hamper those projections from being realized? Talking futuristically now.
Firstly, I believe that we can even do beyond 3 million because before now, our records have, even the NFPCL, they will have questions to answer. Like from what we see on the news, nobody knows how what their expenditure is. Nobody knows. So you can circumspect that they even understate our production. However, if they are saying that we can do 3 million, it means that they know exactly what we are producing. They know exactly what we're producing. I believe that we're currently producing about that amount. But what is happening? First of all, there are still leakages. There are still leakages. There are other surveillance companies that I feel are not living up to their bidding. They are not living up to their expectation because we don't even hear about them. Go to the streets of the Niger Delta and ask who has engaged this, who has engaged this. It's only Tantita you get. So for me, if it's Tantita that is doing the job, those areas where, I mean, there are still reports from available information that we are still losing crude through the coast of Cameroon and that way. And that's not even manned by Tantita, that's manned by other people. So if they will close all of that, either they look for a more competent security outfit that can complement the Nigerian security and what Tantita is doing, or give everything to Tantita. That's number one. Number two, there are oil wells that should be commissioned. There are oil wells that they've left unproductive. Shell, as there was, and other companies, they have abandoned. These oil wells can be opened up, reopened, commission them, and let's begin to enjoy the gains and the benefits of those oil wells across the Niger Delta, not just in the Delta State. And so, for me, it is possible. We improve security, open up more of those oil wells that have been abandoned all the years, and then you see that Nigeria was doing very well for it.
All right, just to
put it now, Ogoni is even coming up. If they start up again in Ogoni and other areas where all of these things have been decommissioned before, why not?
All right, comrade. Well, on a parting shot now, as we begin to continually attend to this conversation around centralization and decentralization, what would you say to the average Niger Deltan who is still hinged on this conversation, especially still seeking clarity as regarding what should be the path to follow and future projections that are hoped for towards the betterment of the oil fortunes in the region?
Firstly, I want to commend you for bringing these issues to the fore, for bringing it, because the more people are enlightened, the more they know about what is happening, the more they can take informed decisions. Like we have just told them now. We have just given them historical facts. We're just giving them evidential proof that look, this was how it was. I mean, between 2012 to 2013 and 2015, 2016, 2017, and thereabout. This was where we were. 500,000 barrels was the, I mean, and we were losing more than $4 billion annually. And so, but now we are no longer there. We have since crossed the 1.5 million, 1.6, we're 1.7 million now, and we're not even having the audacity to project. It just means that this current strategy is working. The only thing is, in their various communities, they should report, find out first of all, who is responsible for safeguarding of the pipeline in your community. Is it Tantita? Is it PINF? Because we also have the pipeline infrastructure Nigeria Limited. Nobody is talking about that company. Nobody is even hearing about it. Go to the street of go to the street of and ask how many people are being engaged by pipeline infrastructure. We don't know that. But all you hear is Tantita. If you go through Delta State, you see billboards, carrying signages, carrying Tantita, saying that we are the ones, we are on ground. You can hold us responsible. Why are we not saying all that? So you find out the one that is in your area. All right. Report to government, advocate for that. No, these people are inefficient. These people, we are not seeing them on the ground. and then government will take informed decision. And again, you join the conversation as we keep talking, keep putting our facts there.
All right.
I think everybody will be able to make decisions.
Thank you very much, Comrade Eniwake Orogun, Secretary General, Niger Delta Ethnic Nationalities Youth Leaders Forum, and also President, Isoko National Youth Assembly. Thanks for speaking to us in Niger Delta today. And we're hoping that these insights would bring new perspective to oil management and contracts in the Niger Delta region. Thanks.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
With that, we come to the finality of the program today, Niger Delta Today. Thank you very much for being with us. Catch us again tomorrow for another fresh edition of the program. My name is Xavier Robert, wishing you a terrific afternoon.